Welcome to Hamilton Fraser. I'm Sammy and this is our series of help videos. Today we're going to be talking about claims and complaint handling, and we've got Emma Brackie, our claims specialist, and Eddie Hooker, the CEO. So Emma, are there different types of complaints that you see?
Hi Sammy. Yes, there is actually two types of complaints that we generally see. They're categorised into two sections. We've got a reportable claim, and we've also got a dissatisfaction, also known as a notable claim. So the difference between the two is a reportable claim needs to be reported across to the insurance company if the policy has been triggered. What that means is if we have received a solicitor's letter or any type of legal intervention, that needs to go across to the insurers, because their solicitors will need to deal with that. Also, if there's bodily injury following a treatment, that needs to be reported straight away to the insurance company. With notable claims, we try and actually deal with that in-house. What we try and do is we try and prevent the situation before it actually gets to a reportable claim stage.
So if you have dissatisfaction, do you have to tell your insurer?
Yes, we recommend that you tell us every situation which may give rise to a claim. So for instance, even if you had a patient that come in who wasn't happy with the results, they feel that the treatment hasn't worked, we still need to know about that, just so we can make notes on our system in case it does turn into a formal complaint later down the line.
And if I was an aesthetic practitioner and I told you about this, would this affect my insurance policy or premium?
So if it was a notable claim and it was just a dissatisfaction, that wouldn't affect your premium at all, because we don't actually report it to the insurance company. If you have a situation where a solicitor has got involved, that is obviously a reportable claim and it does go across to the insurance company. However, if it is just for notification purposes only, it will actually go down with a zero reserve, so it won't affect your premium. It's only when it is actually a formal claim is when there is a reserve put on the claim.
So Emma, if a practitioner is just getting a general moan, say for example they've come in trying to look like Brad Pitt, and then they don't feel they've looked like Brad Pitt when they come over, and they're just generally unhappy. Do practitioners have to actually notify every issue? Do we allow them to actually deal with any?
We do ask them to tell us of everything. Yeah. It is in their best interest that they tell us every single situation, just in case Brad Pitt lookalike does actually think, do you know what, I'm going to go to a solicitor.
Yeah.
They promised me I'd look like Brad Pitt and I don't. If we've got a note of the situation, we can then go to the insurance company, we can let them know how we tried to prevent it being a formal claim, and there won't be a reason with any type of late notification.
But we will allow them to, the practitioners, to try and deal with this, but
yes.
We'll just give them some guidance
Yes.
on with maybe a letter or how to approach it.
Yes, so when it's at the dissatisfaction stage, we work together with the practitioners. At that point, we give them the freedom really to say what they want to do. For instance, we could come to an agreement with them to offer a refund if they're happy with doing that, maybe a further free treatment if they wanted to do that, or if they believe that everything has been done correctly, there wasn't any issues with the treatment, then we can also say, okay, we'll stand by you if you want to maintain that everything was done correctly.
Oh, and what happens if the practitioner fundamentally disagrees? Because claims are emotive, aren't they? Complaints are emotive. So if I've come in and you've performed a treatment on me and I'm angry, you with me? And
yes.
You're then saying, well, there's nothing, I've done everything that we agreed to do, and they're, oh, well, I'm still going to make a claim against you. How do we manage practitioners' expectations there?
To be quite honest, if there is a patient that comes in who wants to make a claim against the client, if they have done everything correctly, we would stand by them and we would assist them in maintaining that they've done everything correct. At the end of the day, if a patient wants to make a claim against a practitioner and they do believe they've got a valid claim, then they would need to seek legal assistance. It would then be up to their solicitor to prove that our client had been negligent in some way.
So I think the message is, isn't it, talk to us, really.
Indeed,
because
that's what
a
we're
lot
here
of
for.
these a lot of these claims, and we've been doing this, 25 years, a lot of, well, I have, you're a lot younger, but that we've been, we see so many of these type of things, and to be fair with you, the vast majority can be handled quite quickly and easily.
Yep.
So it's not, so they won't be able to be stopped to be practicing whilst we're doing this. They just carry on, we take over.
No, if you have even if you have a formal claim against you, it doesn't mean you have to stop practicing. You still continue as normal, and we will deal with it in the background on their behalf.
So what kind of time frame are we looking at if you get a formal claim against you?
Well, it really depends on the type of claim that comes in. Obviously, if we have a claim to do with a dermal filler, dermal fillers are not permanent. Well, most of them aren't. The results normally wear off within a couple of months. So if there is going to be an issue or a long-standing injury, then you will know about it beforehand. Whereas if you actually did something like a laser treatment, burns can last for a lot longer. The patient, they actually have 3 years and 4 months to bring a formal claim against you. That's why we always make sure that patient files. Yeah, exactly. Because we do need to know about it as soon as possible, so there isn't an issue with late notification.
So I have another question for you. If a patient makes a claim against a practitioner who's working in someone else's premises or someone else's clinic, does that claim sit with the practitioner or with the clinic?
See, that's a very good question. There is actually an element of exposures to both parties. When you if you're a self-employed practitioner, you should have your own policy which covers you for your own treatments. However, if you are working within a clinic, we would always recommend that the clinic actually includes that practitioner on their own policy. Reason being is because if a complaint comes in about the individual practitioner, it would obviously be referred to her policy. If the complaint comes in which is addressed to the clinic, they've obviously got an element of exposure, so they will also have to notify it to their own clinic policy. The majority of the time, if the practitioner does have their own policy, the claim will actually get redirected back to them. But for larger companies, it's always worthwhile getting all the practitioners noted on their policy just to cover that element of exposure under the company name.
I mean, I think that's a good point you make, Emma. If you are a clinic owner that is bringing in outside practitioners, if that practitioner then causes a problem, has a complaint against them, and the clinic can't find that practitioner again, say that practitioner's flown in from another part of the country or just disappears or refuses to engage with the claim process, if the clinic has got that practitioner noted under their policy, at least they can then deal with the claim and the insurer will pick it up. Because a good lawyer is going to scattergun the complaint. A lawyer will go out of their way to find someone who's going to pay for this, and if they can't get the practitioner, they'll go after the company.
So what would happen if you're a practitioner working for a clinic and there's claims made against the clinic or perhaps to you in the clinic, and you then go out on your own and take out your own insurance policy? Is this noted, or do you have to tell your insurer about that, or does it affect anything?
We would recommend that you do tell your insurer when you take out your policy, even if it was a claim against the clinic, but you were the one administering the treatment. We would still recommend that you tell your new insurers about them. They will ask you a couple of questions about it. They'll find out if you were responsible or if it was something to do with the actual clinic. It's always better to tell your insurance company, because if you don't and something happens later down the line and they find out that you were involved in something and you haven't disclosed it, then they could actually decline any future claims and void your policy.
So have you got any tips? I mean, I know, let's not panic, there aren't thousands of claims coming in. They're quite rare, aren't they, to be fair? You get a lot of communication complaints, dissatisfaction, but for real formal injury, they're quite rare, aren't they? So I don't want people to go out and suddenly worry that they're getting into a very litigious marketplace. But is there any quick tips to manage claims or prevent them? I mean, I know you can't prevent everything, but anything that practitioners can do to make things a bit easy for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to trying to prevent claims, best thing to do is make sure that you have got the correct patient selection. You need to make sure that the patient is actually ready for that type of treatment. They're the right candidate for it. If it's something that's not going to work for them, you need to let them know, because if you go ahead and do a treatment promising that it's going to do this or it's going to do that, and it doesn't work, then you will get a claim that comes in. Another great tip is make sure that your patient file and all your notes are really, really up to date, really detailed, and make sure you take photos.
And should we keep the notes? You know, the practitioners, they have to keep them for a long time, because you said.
Yes, so with patient files, you should be keeping them for 10 years at least. Even though there is a limitation period, we do recommend 10 years. It's always best to keep the information as long as possible, just in case.
And one last question for me, Emma, because I've had this question asked at me so many times. Should I tell the complainant, the patient, that I'm insured if there's a problem?
We would recommend that you didn't tell them that you had insurance in place, purely because if a patient realises that you do have insurance in place, they see it as an opportunity to try and get as much out of you as possible. What we would normally say to them is that we have an internal complaints procedure. The matter does have to be investigated, and we'll get back to you shortly. We always tell the clients not to let them know that you have insurer's involvement.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Emma. And we'll see you next time.